Tommy Stewart here from Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf and classic thrash metal band Hallows Eve, and owner of Black Doomba Records. I'm here to answer some questions from Antichrist Magazine. And first we have, please introduce Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf to our subscribers. Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf has been around since about 2016. We're a doom metal two-piece band. It is I and usually drummer Dennis Reed. We have 2 albums, some singles, 2 EPs. Our last album was called Doomsday Deferred. We're working on a 3rd album as we speak. We've done a lot of touring and it's been pretty good. We're very experimental. I have no idea what we're doing. So we're having a good time doing that. What is the meaning behind the band name? Well, I'm Tommy Stewart. I tried to put out a demo album. I didn't put it out. I barely put it out. Let's put it that way. I kind of gave it to some friends. It had 5 or 6 loose songs on it. I just played everything myself and little pieces of songs that I might use the pieces. I just wanted feedback. So I made 100 copies and I kind of put it out there, but I discovered that I suddenly couldn't find myself in Google searches because there were like 6 Tommy Stewarts that are musicians. So I was one night watching Game of Thrones, and each of the children in the first episode were handed a direwolf cub. And this was their pet, Dyerwulf. And I went, there's my name, Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf, because this is my pet project on the side of the label. So can you tell us a little about Fyrewulf One? Fyrewulf One is the EP that I just released in September 2024. It was a small EP with 4 songs on it. The songs were shorter and a little peppier than our usual thing, and I just wanted to get that off my chest. It had one cover. We covered Melvin Laid an Egg by Blood Rock from a 1970 Blood Rock album. Can we talk about the lyrics on the release? Yes, 2 of the lyrics. One was a cover, one is an instrumental, and then there were 2 other songs. The lyrics were I kind of did some polls online on Twitter and here and there where you can do polls, and asked what was bothering people the most and just let people talk. And I did this several times over some time. And one of the things I came out with is people talked about their depression and how many meds they were on, how much medicine they took. And I said, well, me too. I can associate with this because I have medicine, not for depression, but I have medicines I have to take. I'm diabetic. And so I thought, yeah, that's a thing I can write about myself that other people can identify with. Another one's called Kept Pain Busy. That was lyrics that people could identify with. Can you talk about the EP cover art? Yes, the cover art was awesome. It was created by Drone Artworks. The guy's name is Vaclav Traer. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but he's one of my favorite artists. The cover art shows a lot of fire. It shows the 2 direwolves, let's say, with hoods, and one has a hat because my drummer often wears a hat, and one guy's playing a string instrument. That's me. He doesn't have on glasses, probably should have, because I always wear glasses. I have to, sorry. And then let's see, but the album cover art, since it was explosively like volcanic and fire and everything, it sort of reminded me of the songs on there because they were more upbeat than my usual fare. Is it easier for you to release albums through your own label, Black Doomba? That's interesting. What I do is I promote my band the same as I promote the other bands on the album. I don't promote me more or less. I have other bands on the label, and each one of them sort of has a season of promotion campaign for 2 to 3 months before the album comes out, and I do my band the very same. I keep up with how much I promote each band. I make sure they all get hands-on 100% focus. Each one gets that. So I don't know. It's not hard. I like putting out my own albums. It's fine. I'd be putting them out probably by myself. I might as well make a label. When I started Dyerwulf, what made me want to start a label is because I did pitch to 8 labels. No, everybody ignored me. Nobody even talked back to me. Nobody even answered. And I went, you know what? Fine. I'll just create a label. I didn't really want to, but I can. I know how to do it. So yeah, so I started the label. And then it's funny because now the label has took off on a life of its own, and people seem to like what I'm doing on the label. It's sort of overshadowed my band a little bit. And that's okay because, I'm just making music in my band. From your perspective, how has heavy metal changed over the past 50 years? That's interesting because when I first started getting into heavy metal, 50 years he's saying, because I've been doing this for 50 years. My first live show of me playing bass on stage was 1974. And it wound up more and more and more all the time. Okay, so I have been around 50 years or more listening to music. So it started out with Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and stuff like that in the early 70s, late 60s, right at 1970, right in there. And then it began to grow. But what I've really noticed about it as it changed over time, and then, as we all know, punk came into it, and you mix that with some of the new wave of British metal stuff, and you ended up with thrash, and everybody knows the story. And then it's evolved into eventually what it is today. There's so many different subgenres now and everything. But the one thing I've noticed is that it always changes. More changes are coming. And that's one thing about music. It will always be different. That's the one thing I can tell you is for sure. What do you do for the livelihood outside of music? Nowadays it's 24/7. And much of the time when Hell's Eve was touring in a consistent way, I didn't have a day job. And since I started the label, I guess for about 12 years now, I've been completely 24/7. My music, my whatever, no day jobs at all in between things. What did I do before? In the old days, I did a lot of driving forklifts, working in warehouses, a lot of shipping and receiving and things like that. When we made Tales of Terror, that came out in 1985 in Metal Blade Records, I wrote a whole lot of that sitting on a forklift with a clipboard between taking things off and on trucks. And some of that stuff I remember jotting down on pieces of paper as I walked to work. I remember walking to work. So I did a lot of that kind of stuff, driving things, trucks, taxis, things like that. When did you first discover your interest in metal music? That very first thing that got to me was when I got the single for Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. I was not, maybe 13, maybe 12. Anyway, I got that. And I liked the single so much, and you flipped it over, and the other side was a live version of it. It even wound it up more, and I went out and bought the album, bought the cassette of it, and had the cassette. I had a little tape player I would tape onto the front of my bicycle handlebars with my machine head Deep Purple tape in there and ride down the road singing Maybe I'm a Leo and Highway Star. I'm a whopping like 12 years old doing this. It's awesome. Anyway, it kind of started there, and then I had Black Sabbath 4, and it just went on from there. And it was right when all this stuff came out too, but that was what really got me interested in it. What obstacles have you faced as a musician? How do you overcome them? I think the main obstacle, the main takeaway I've got that I'd like to share with other bands is that if I did a thing that said like 10 things I would do if I was to start a band from scratch again, I think I would mainly pay attention to the first time you get with the other band members to make sure you're all on the same page. Is one guy doing it just for the heck of it and you're trying to go for broke? Are you trying to... You don't want them to practice with you, get all your songs up, and then when it's time to go out on the road, you get signed. Hey, now you're going to go on the road, and one or two guys says, "Oh, I can't really go out on the road. I can't really tour." You know, well, then what are we doing all this for? So make sure you're on the same page. You know, thematically for the band, what's your brand? Get all that done in the first or second meet. And if somebody doesn't want to go all the way and you want to go all the way, you need to get rid of them now, because they're just going to put the kibosh on you later. And I think that's been a big obstacle for me, as I've played with a lot of people, got it going. Then when it was time to go do something, some of them kind of crapped out on me. Don't do that. All right. Is there a specific non-metal genre or artist you'd love to collaborate with? That is a great question, and I should be asking myself that, because I can't think of anybody in particular that's out of genre that I want to collaborate with. I've come very close to collaborating with a couple of people. One in particular disappeared on me, and I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, I'll have to think about that. Maybe that's something to ask myself for my next album, because I'm thinking about having some guests. I've got a few people in mind. Rapid fire section, just for fun. Are your thoughts on A1 generated cover art? Don't do it. Don't do it. Use real art. Make real things. Make real Dyerwulf skulls. Make real paintings. Dude, come on, people. Just make your music real. Yeah, I use my computer, and I use some plugins to make reverb. I don't go find a swimming pool or a long hallway anymore to do things. I have recorded right like that, but yeah, that kind of stuff's acceptable. But you know, using compression on your drums, that's okay. You know, things like that. But yeah, A1. This is all. I hate to say it, but it's here. It's here to stay. I'm just not going to do it. All right. First album you bought with your own money. All right. I'm showing my age here, but I was born in 1959. First album I bought with my own money, I was about 7 years old, and it was the Beatles album, the soundtrack of Help, the movie Help. The soundtrack version of it came with some of the soundtrack classical stuff on it. It had classical orchestral versions, and some of them had Beatles melodies in them. And the important thing about that for me was, I listened to it so much, that's when I realized you could make a song, and then you could do different versions of the song, and it didn't just have to be this one thing. And it opened my mind to stuff. And I think that really influenced me later, because I started trying so many different things. But that's the first one I bought with my own money. I was only about 7. I just collected change around the house and stuff for a long time. I was always doing that. Is there a conspiracy theory you think could actually be true? No, but some of them are awesome. I laugh at a lot of them. Maybe the one that said that we've actually already been sucked into a black hole, but it's happening so slowly that we don't even know that we're already gone. It just still hasn't. We haven't become aware of it, but actually in like 2012, we were destroyed. I don't know. I guess that's pretty weird, but I like that one. If your music were a movie, which one would it be? I do not know, but it would have to be something weird. It'd have to be something where at the end of the movie, people who saw the movie might say, I don't know what I just saw. Because I think that's what they get after they listen to some of my later music with Tommy Source Dyerwulf. They listen to it and go, what was that? I'm kind of all over the place in style. So I don't know, honestly. If my music were a movie, which one would it be? I don't know. It would be an unusual movie. What's the worst job you've ever had? I've had some really bad jobs, and I've worked really hard. I often had 2 or 3 part-time jobs, and most of the jobs I took because I was mainly touring. A lot of times I would take jobs that nobody else would take. Sometimes I didn't even know how to do the work. and I would just somewhere to work for a few days or a couple of weeks until I get back out on the road again. I didn't think nothing of quitting jobs and then getting units. How bad were they? I don't know. Um, Getting down in the middle of chemical vats and cleaning them, working in 100-degree weather outside. Oh my God, construction jobs. It just sucks thinking about them. Working in the snow outside, it didn't matter. It was always hard. I don't know. What's the worst job you've ever had? They were all the worst job. Favorite pop song? That's hard. I do like some pop songs. Here, as of late, I can't really think of anything in particular. Would you call the Pretty Reckless pop? I don't know. To me, they're a rock band. I really like them. I liked in the old days. I liked things like I really liked "Hungry Like a Hungry Like the Wolf" by Duran Duran. I liked a lot of songs like that. I had to think about the title. It's been so long, but yeah, there was a lot of 80s so-called alternative new wave I liked. I never really mentioned it much, but yeah, I liked a lot of that stuff. Favorite pop song. Future projects for Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf. We're making our third album right now, and the third album will be much more similar to our second album, but further along. I do have a theme in mind. It'll be thematic. The songs are all going to kind of be about different aspects of the same overall subject. And I can't wait to do it. I'm writing and recording it as we speak. It probably won't make it out to the public till 2026. I have a couple of singles I'm going to release between now and then, though. And then Black Doomba Records, we have let me interject this. In Black Doomba Records, we have new albums coming out by Black Moon Cult, and some possible signings of a couple of bands that we've already put albums out. We just have to work out the contract stuff. And I've got about 6 bands on the table that I'm talking to that they may come out also. So I wanted to make sure to mention Black Moon Cult. That one is coming out, and it's going to be really good. Hope you listen to it. All right. Thanks a lot for the interview. See ya. Have a good one.